Altitude 400 kilometers. Initiating OMS burn to stabilize orbit. ADIs are calibrated for 320 kilometers. Roger that. Jericho is 5,000 meters behind Lexington. Looks like a textbook approach so far.
What have you got, Tran?
Surface scanners have picked up a hard echo from a point 80 kilometers north of the Rift Valley in Sector 4.
Is it Pandora?
Jericho thinks so. They started the countdown for the launch of the planetary lander. The crew is on board, and the lander's been prepped for launch.
What the hell is that?
Sensors are picking up a contact coming from the other side of Persephone. It's accelerating at 100 gravities. We have another contact.
UN battle drones. Sound general quarters.
Make that 4 contacts. Probable identification, United Nations Autonomous Strike Craft, Galley class. The drones will be in range of the Lexington in 110 seconds.
Communications. Give me the Jericho CO on audio. Tran, what do we have in the air?
We have 9 drones out front in a standard screen. All are now changing course to intercept. We now have multiple contacts. 10, 11... No, make that 12 incoming drones.
We need room. Take us out of orbit. Give me 1 G of acceleration on a vector 130 degrees, mark 30. Power up the railguns and pulse cannons. If any of the drones make it through our screen, begin ECM when they get within 10,000 meters.
Yes, sir. Course 130 by 30, acceleration 1G.
Captain McCain standing by, sir.
Stephen, what's going on?
Captain, we're under attack by UN battle drones. Abort the lander countdown and secure the ship. Close up within 1,000 meters of the Lexington. We'll cover you with our close-in combat system.
All 9 fleet defense drones are accelerating for an intercept.
Sir, telemetry is coming in from all drones.
There's Mama. Looks like a Geneva-class heavy cruiser.
First one's on the scene. Like hell. They've been waiting for us.
The attacking drones have engaged and destroyed my fleet defense units. There are 5 surviving UN drones. All are now decelerating and will be in range within 15,
Captain McCain is
14,
requesting instructions,
13,
sir.
12,
Stand by.
11,
Hands, hear this.
10,
This is the bridge.
9,
Stand
8,
by for combat.
7,
nothing we can do.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Here they come.
1.
Incoming drones in R6. We've been hit. Heavy damage in engineering. The Jericho has been hit. Breach on deck 2. 3 o'clock. The backup coolant systems are coming online. Oh my god. We're still losing coolant. This mother is going to melt down if we don't seal that system.
CICS is down. I repeat, we've lost the close-in combat system.
All the coolant systems are down.
We aren't gonna make it.
UN vessel. This is Captain Stephen Dana of the USS Lexington. I am prepared to offer complete and unconditional surrender. I wish to evacuate my crew and that of the science vessel Jericho using intership shuttles. We are to be taken aboard your vessel and treated as prisoners of war under the Geneva Convention. Please, call off the attack.
This is Commander Garrick of the UNS Dharma. Your surrender is accepted. Deactivate your weapon systems and power down. You have 20 minutes to abandon ship. Garrick out.
Understood. Lexington out. Clear the bridge and prepare to abandon ship. Tran, stay here with me.
Sir, what the hell are you doing? We surrendered? Are you out of your mind? We can't surrender. That's not even an option during a normal TAC-op. I should relieve you of command. But we can still take out the Jericho ourselves with a ship-to-ship missile and then put the Lexington on self-destruct. We can't let those UN bastards get their hands on anything or anybody that will give away this mission.
They won't, Tran.
Oh, the hell they won't. You're just about handing it to them. I mean, you even want to evacuate the crew. I can't believe this. Why did we even bother fighting back?
If you're finished, Commander, I don't have any intention of turning the Lexington or the Jericho over to Garrick.
Sir?
There's very little time. You are to take Randall down to the weapons bay and pull a 500 kiloton nuclear warhead off of a ship-to-ship missile. Now use the TAC console to arm the thing. Set the warhead to detonate based on proximity, and cancel out the mass of the Lexington and the intership shuttle. Now stow the damn thing in a compartment on the shuttle. When that's done, go and complete your final log entry and return to the shuttle bay. Do you understand me now, Tran? I'm going to sound the call to abandon ship. The crews of the Lexington and Jericho will use intership shuttles to transfer over to the Dharma.
The bomb will go off when the shuttle is pulled into the Dharma's docking bay.
And vaporize Garrick in that goddamn ship.
Everybody in both crews will be dead.
All but one. When the Dharma runs a scan of the two shuttles, most everybody has to be accounted for. I think we can get away with one missing body. I intend to leave one person on board the Lexington, unconscious. It will be up to him to complete the mission. We're all dead anyway. At least we're gonna go together, Tran.
I understand, Captain.
Very well. I'll meet you in the shuttle bay in 15 minutes.
Aye, aye, sir.
Tran has taken care of loading the thermonuclear warhead on the shuttle. I've given the order to abandon ship. The crewman I've selected is unconscious on Deck 2. God willing, he'll be able to patch this ship together, transfer the planetary lander from the Jericho, and finish this mission.
Abandoned ship. Abandoned ship. All hands report to the shuttle bay for evacuation.
Computer. In Captain's log entry. Open AV data store Melissa 4. Record personal message. Audio only. Encryption Delta. To be decoded only on access by Melissa Dana. The war took your mother soon after you were born. Now the war has taken me. I'm truly sorry that you must grow up with holograms as your only real memories of us. You're so beautiful, Melissa. Just like your mother. Please, try not to be bitter. One of the reasons that we're gone is so that you'll have a chance to live in the only way we believe is right. Keep us with you always. I love you. Computer. End message.
Abandoned ship. Abandoned ship. All hands report to the shuttle bay for evacuation.
Lexington shuttle to Dharma. We are now leaving the Lexington.
Dharma to Lexington shuttle. We detect one human life sign aboard the Lexington. Explain or be destroyed.
Lexington shuttle here. Your deadline gave us no time to search the ship for casualties. Subject may be unconscious.
Unfortunate. Do not attempt to turn back. Your approach to the Dharma is cleared. Garrick out.
Emergency decompression alert. Pressure is dropping rapidly on Deck 2.
Computer?
The main computer is down. Voice access to Deck 2 local systems only.
Where is everybody?
You are the only member of the crew currently on Deck 2. Because contact has been lost with the main computer, there is no information about crew status on any other deck.
What the hell is going on? Give me a status report.
Contact with the main computer system was lost at 22:31:22. Autonomic ship functions have been delegated to local nodes. At 22:45:07, internal sensors detected an impact and subsequent decompression in Deck 2, Stateroom 2 Bravo. A warning was issued to all personnel to evacuate Deck 2. At 22:50:10, all of Deck 2 was placed under damage control condition Zebra.
What is damage control condition Zebra?
Condition Zebra is the most serious of the 4 damage containment and control procedures and is implemented only if the survival of the ship is in doubt. Condition Zebra applies to all airtight compartments that have been sealed off from the rest of the ship due to hull integrity failure. No hatches, doors, or valves leading to or from the affected compartments may be opened without the authorization of the commanding officer.
What caused the impact?
Unknown. The initial pressure loss was immediate and catastrophic but was localized to one stateroom. The DCS knowledge base suggests that the damage may have been caused by a laser, particle beam, kinetic kill weapon, high-velocity micrometeorite, or a microfragment from a nearby explosion.
What is the DCS knowledge base?
All decks are equipped with a local expert system known as the Damage Control System Knowledge Base, or DCS Knowledge Base.
Why impose condition Zebra for a loss of pressure in just one stateroom?
The initial pressure loss was contained in Stateroom 2 Bravo. Unfortunately, the door leading to Stateroom 2 Bravo was not designed as an airtight fitting, and cannot withstand the pressure differential between the normal atmospheric pressure in the corridor outside and the vacuum inside the stateroom. Air is currently leaking around the door seals, an indication that the door may give way at any time.
How do I fix the damage?
Emergency hull patch kits can be found in the compartments directly over the general-purpose computer terminals installed in the common areas of each deck.
What will it take to secure from condition Zebra?
Hull integrity must be restored.
What is the status of life support for this deck?
Atmosphere replenishment for Deck 2 has been terminated in compliance with condition Zebra procedures.
I need access to the other decks.
Authorization from the commanding officer is required to enter or leave any compartments under condition Zebra.
What if I'm the last one on the ship? Would that make me commanding officer?
That is correct.
I'm done.
Access terminated by user.
Computer?
The main
Any change in status?
There has been no change in the status of Deck 2 systems.
I need
Authorization from the commanding officer is required to...
What if I'm the...
That is correct.
I need
Authorization...
What if I'm...
That is correct.
I'm done.
Access... Emergency decompression alert. Pressure is dropping rapidly on Deck 2.
I'm sure you're wondering what's going on. I'll explain. You are probably aware that the Lexington was attacked by a UN ship. We were outgunned and on the verge of being destroyed when Captain Dana notified the UN captain of our desire to surrender. Garrick agreed to take the crew of the Lexington and Jericho aboard before destroying both ships. As I record this message, Garrick is waiting for us to transfer over to his ship on the Lexington shuttle. You are the only one left behind. If we're lucky, the UN bastard will ignore one crewman left on board the Lexington. We intend to detonate a thermonuclear device after our shuttle has been taken aboard the UN vessel. This will completely destroy their ship. It will also kill everyone on board both shuttles. This should leave you free to complete our mission. There is nothing more important than this mission, including the lives of the crew. We died so that you can finish what we started. Our ship was badly hurt during the UN attack. The first thing you must do is deal with the worst of the battle damage. There are problems which directly threaten the near-term survival of the ship. Now, first of all, the primary power reactor is headed for a meltdown because the coolant system has failed. The molten core will eat through the containment vessel of the reactor and set off the fuel for the fusion engines. The resulting explosion will completely destroy the Lexington and the nearby Jericho. You need to get to engineering and stop the runaway chain reaction. The meltdown is the top priority. When you deal with that problem, then you must get the central computer back in operation. Without that, you cannot complete the mission. Currently, all computer processing has been delegated to the smaller, decentralized computers that exist on each deck of the ship. They do not communicate with each other except on a very primitive level, enough to keep what you might think of as subconscious ship functions going. There is no overall guiding intelligence in these autonomous systems. The ship's central computer is made up of Turing cores and is home to the complex software that gives the ship's computer its smarts. The higher functions of the ship's brain reside in the central computer cores. These cores are currently inoperative. The primary cores were destroyed, and the secondary cores failed to activate the way they were supposed to. You must get the central computer back online. I've recorded one more message. You'll hear from me again when you get the central computer back in operation. I have key-coded the message so that the higher functions of the main computer will pick it up and display it for you as soon as the central cores are once again operational. Good luck, and be careful. Tran out.
Emergency decompression alert. Pressure is dropping rapidly on Deck 2. This stateroom is protected by the privacy laws. You are not the legal occupant assigned to this stateroom. A VIS override code is required to gain access to this space. Access granted.
USS Lexington, Captain's Log. I don't have much time. The bridge recorders and comm logs will have full transcripts of the events that led to the current situation. This is a subjective account intended for the Captain's Log only. I'm afraid any gaps must be filled in later using previous entries. A lot has gone wrong since we first arrived in orbit around Persephone. Godforsaken world at the end of a 68 light-year voyage that has tried my ship and my crew. The details of this mission are known only to myself, my XO Lieutenant Commander Tran, and the captain of the Jericho, the science ship we've escorted from Earth. The three of us have carried this secret, a burden that has gotten heavier during each week of the trip out. We knew that what we might find on Persephone could well help us turn the tide in the war with the United Nations. We knew that it might even change the course of human history. Things haven't worked out that way. And as strange as it seems, I think the crew knew towards the end that this was going to be a one-way trip. A sense of foreboding crept over the ship as Persephone came into visual range. As we got closer, I could see it in their eyes, in their drawn and exhausted faces. I could feel it in myself. an almost palpable dread that permeated every corner of the ship. It was justified. Nothing could have prepared us for the hell that was waiting on the other side of Persephone.
Emergency decompression alert. Pressure is dropping rapidly on Deck 2.
All Alliance ships, this is the USS Lexington. Hull ID, Lima, Charlie, Bravo Hotel 09er. Mayday, Mayday. We are under attack by a UN Geneva-class heavy cruiser. Our defensive screen has been penetrated. Our mission has been compromised. The ship has sustained serious damage. The electronics in the external communications array were shorted out by an enemy strike while we were moving the dish to acquire new transmission coordinates. Our dish is now locked in a useless position. If you receive this message, please retransmit to the Alliance base on Erebus as soon as possible. Stand by for a coded telemetry burst with mission data under paradox encryption.
Emergency decompression alert. Pressure is dropping rapidly on Deck 2.
All Alliance ships, this is the USS Lexington. Hull ID, Lima, Charlie...
Emergency decompression alert. Pressure is dropping rapidly on Deck 2. This stateroom is protected. Access denied. This state. Access granted. Emergency decompression alert. Pressure is dropping rapidly.
Computer?
The main computer is down. Voice access.
Any change in status?
The pressure on Deck 2 has stabilized. Deck 2 has been secured from damage control condition Zebra.
I'm done.
Access terminated by user. The pressure on Deck 2 has stabilized. Deck 2 has been secured from damage control condition Zebra. Access granted. Deck 3. This stateroom is access granted.
Welcome to Hideki's House of Hacking Fun.
This stateroom is protected by the privacy law. This stateroom. Access denied. This state. Access granted. This state. Access granted.
Welcome to the USS Lexington orientation. The United States Congress authorized the development of a new class of warships in 2109 as new Cold War tensions between alliance states and the United Nations escalated. These ships were designated as light cruisers Bunker Hill class and were designed to be fast, lightly armored, and heavily armed. The USS Lexington is one of 9 Bunker Hill light cruisers built between 2111 and 2127. During the first half of 2133, The Lexington was the first Bunker Hill-class ship to undergo an extensive modernization at the McHenry yards around Starhome. She was equipped with brand new weapon systems, an improved interplanetary drive, a new computer system, and an upgraded communication system. The Lexington is equipped with 3 propulsion systems. The first propulsion system is the Orbital Maneuvering System, or OMS. The OMS consists of several chemical reaction thrusters for use when in orbit or when maneuvering in close proximity to other ships. The second propulsion system is the interplanetary drive, used for travel inside a star system. 4 deuterium-tritium fusion pulse drive engines are fed by a linear accelerator that runs down the spine of the ship from fuel tanks mounted near the bow. A continuous stream of microscopic frozen deuterium-tritium fuel pellets is accelerated into the 4 thrust chambers with magnetic containment at the stern of the ship. High-energy lasers bombard the fuel pellets and create a fusion reaction by implosion. Thrust is channeled backwards. A fraction of the resulting energy is fed back into large capacitors which are used to fire the lasers for the next explosion. The interplanetary drive can produce and maintain a constant acceleration of up to 6 gravities for extended periods. Large radiator fins on the outside of the ship help to regulate temperature. The third propulsion system is the Talsetto faster-than-light jump drive, located on the boom forward of the bow. The jump drive allows instantaneous travel along threads of space-time deformation that exist between the Talsetto jump points found in many star systems. A conventional liquid-cooled nuclear reactor mounted forward of the engineering compartments of the ship is used to charge the capacitors for the ignition of the fusion engines and provide power for the linear accelerator, life support, and all of the ship's electrical systems. The Lexington's principal weapons system is a complement of 18 Lockheed Martin RC-09 Basilisk multi-mission autonomous strike craft, also known as battle drones. Up to 9 of the 18 drones can be active at one time. The drones are deployed using rotary launchers mounted in 3 weapons bays. These bays are arrayed in an equilateral triangle around the core of the ship. Each drone is capable of carrying several types of ordnance mounted on standard hardpoints on the dorsal and ventral surfaces. Drone weapons include anti-ship missiles, torpedoes, particle beam guns, railgun cannons, and lasers. A Basilisk drone with a full combat ordnance load is capable of accelerating at 100 gravities. The Lexington is also armed with a Close-In Combat System, or CICS, that serves as a weapon system of last resort if any enemy drones or long-range weapons penetrate a defensive screen of Basilisk drones. The CICS consists of 8 missile launchers, 2 railgun turrets, and several chaff ejectors mounted at various points on the Lexington's outer hull. The Lexington's standard crew complement is 20. Her maximum complement is 25. The crew is housed in the habitat module of the Lexington, a large rectangular structure mounted well forward of the reactor and fusion engines. The habitat module includes the bridge, crew quarters, communication center, medical and science labs, mess hall, computer center, and storage areas. With a combination of speed, range, and firepower, the USS Lexington is able to project Alliance military strength out to the farthest star systems. She has proven herself in combat and has a distinguished service record built over a period of years. Yet she also has some of the newest and best technology available. Veteran officers and enlisted personnel vie for the privilege of serving on the Lexington and contributing to the continuing story of one of the most capable ships in the Alliance fleet. We are all familiar with the short version of the events that led to this terrible war. During the second half of the 21st century, the leaders of the world government got a glimpse of the shape of things to come. They were afraid of what they saw. Their reaction was to deny the inevitable, slamming the brakes on all technological progress. In 2082, a group of states led by the United States, Canada, Australia, and Japan decided that the cure was worse than the disease. The UN power structure reacted violently to the repeal attempt. States participating in the repeal campaign were targeted for brutal suppression by UN enforcement. Signatories to the Singapore Treaty formed the Alliance of Free States and announced their secession from the United Nations. They were joined by every major planetary colony settlement and orbital habitat. In 2085, large-scale armed conflict returned to Earth for the first time in over 100 years. The UN immediately invaded the territory of the seceding nations on Earth. UN hover tanks, troops, and ground support aircraft clashed with new Alliance military units made up of men and women from Alliance states who defected from UN control. The war ground to a halt after less than 2 months, as both sides ran out of soldiers, weapons, and materiel. The Alliance states managed to hang on to their home territories. An uneasy truce was negotiated between the UN and the Alliance, and the world entered an uneasy period known as the New Cold War. In 2111, the UN attacked again, and war returned on an interplanetary scale. Population centers on Earth and the colonies were bombarded from space by particle beam weapons. Armies fought tank battles supported by buzzing swarms of aircraft. Starships battled each other over asteroid mines, orbital habitats, and planetary installations. The furious pace of the war once again chewed up the stocks of men and materiel in a matter of months. This time, there was no truce. In spite of economic exhaustion, the two sides continued to fight a war of attrition, a war that has since lasted more than 20 years and shows no signs of ending. The war has continued despite the price paid by both sides because all of the combatants are convinced that they are on the right side. The UN firmly believes that unchecked technological development will kill off the human race. The Alliance states are just as firm in their convictions that death is better than life without freedom and without forward progress.
Deck 5. Deck 6. Reactor spaces. Warning. A coolant leak in the power reactor has contaminated the reactor spaces. You are in a radiation hazard area. All personnel must wear proper protective gear and carry radiation monitoring equipment. Warning. A coolant leak in the power reactor has contaminated the reactor spaces. You are in a radiation hazard area. All personnel must wear proper protective gear and carry radiation monitoring equipment.
Computer?
The main computer is down. Voice access to engineering systems only.
Status report.
The situation in the engineering module is critical. Multiple enemy beam weapon and missile hits registered between 22:30:14 and 22:31:45 have caused a criticality 1 fault in the primary power reactor coolant system. Containment failure is imminent. Containment failure will result in the loss of the ship. Contact with the main computer system was lost at 22:31:22. Local systems took over monitoring and control of autonomic functions at 22:31:23. There are also multiple criticality 2 and 3 faults which require attention once conditions have stabilized.
Describe critical faults.
DCS faults are listed in order of criticality. Criticality 1. The coolant system for the primary power reactor has failed. Coolant pipes were ruptured by shear stress from missile impacts and by the heat from beam weapon strikes that penetrated the hull. Radioactive coolant has escaped into crew spaces. Coolant loss has reached critical levels. The reactor core temperature is rising. Containment failure is imminent. Criticality 2. Multiple engineering systems have suffered primary and secondary failures. These are Criticality 2 faults because these systems have tripped tertiary backups and are now operating without any backup at all. The affected systems are fusion containment monitoring, thrust vectoring control, compression laser calibration, compression laser monitoring and control, deuterium-tritium fuel feed, FCS damping, FCS switching, gamma flux monitoring, and the superconducting magnetic coils in sections Charlie, Golf, November, and X-ray.
How do I deal with a reactor coolant failure?
Access the reactor coolant system through the console in the main engineering area.
What is the reactor coolant system?
The reactor coolant system consists of a network of holding tanks, pipes, pumps, and automated valves. The RCS console provides manual control of the system.
What will happen if reactor containment fails?
The core will reach a temperature such that it will melt through the reactor containment vessel and then fall in the direction of thrust. Currently, the Lexington is in a 0.2 G-powered orbit around Persephone. The molten core would thus fall aft and down, melting through the engineering module of the ship.
Why isn't there magnetic containment for the core?
The operating principle behind the ship's power reactor is a slow fission system, not a sustained plasma fusion reaction common to planet-based power systems. Magnetic containment would be inappropriate given the design criteria for the ship.
Can't I just shut the reactor down? Why does the ship need a reactor if it has fusion engines?
The power reactor cannot be scrammed because the control rods are currently jammed in a position that represents 75% of the reactor's operating capacity. Coolant must be restored to the core in order to bring the reactor temperature down. The answer to the second question is that the reactor provides the power for the initial charge of the capacitors that fire the compression lasers in the fusion engines. The compression lasers collapse the fuel pellets and create the fusion reaction that drives the ship. The power reactor also feeds the ship's electrical systems, indirectly supplying power to all life support, computer, communications, and optoelectronic systems.
Do any of the Criticality 2 faults represent an immediate danger to the ship?
Negative. All systems with Criticality 2 faults are operating within acceptable parameters. They are identified as Criticality 2 faults because they are Class 1 systems, and there are now no backup systems in case of further damage.
I'm done.
Access terminated by user.
computer?
The main computer is down.
Has anything changed?
The Criticality 1 fault in the primary reactor coolant system has been repaired. Reactor temperatures are returning to normal.
I'm done.
Access terminated by user. Deck 6.
Computer?
The main computer is down.
Is there anything I should know about?
Contact with the main computer system was lost at 22:31:22. Local systems took over monitoring and control of autonomic functions at 22:31:23.
Has anything changed?
No change in status.
I'm done.
Access terminated by user. Deck 2. Deck 5.
Put the combo on this door because I was afraid one of you might come in and mess with the main computer. Please see me if you think you need to get in here. できるものならやってみろ。
Access granted.
Congratulations. You got the central computer system back online. Now you must figure out a way to get the communication systems back in working order. The tachyon beam transmitter is a large parabolic dish on the outside of the hull. The control systems for that dish have been rendered inoperative. You must figure out how to get the targeting and control mechanism for the dish working again. Once the system is up, override the looping distress call by entering the following code. MELISSA, Melissa. Then ask the central computer to run the IPS program and use it to align the dish on the Tachyon relay beacon sitting near the jump point in this star system. You will have to establish a relay connection through a web of jump points to reach any bases or ships. You will need to talk to the Alliance base on Erebus. They will explain the Lexington's mission and can help you finish that mission in real time. I've done everything I can. Good luck. Tran out.
Yes?
Are you now tied into all the nodes across the ship?
Yes, I have access to all of the ship's systems.
Give me access to subsystems, please.
What systems?
Weapons.
Please specify weapon subsystem.
I'm done.
Acknowledged.
General inquiry.
Ask away.
I'd like to talk about the battle for Persephone.
Okay.
Was the Dharma completely destroyed?
Yes. The enemy ship was reduced to a cloud of gas and metal fragments. It is likely that one of those microfragments caused the damage in the stateroom on Deck 2.
Why didn't the enemy drones use nuclear anti-ship missiles? They could have taken out the Lexington a hell of a lot faster than they did.
The enemy drones were probably trying to disable the Lexington and Jericho rather than destroy them. I suspect the UN wanted to put the Lexington out of action and then board the Jericho. They were probably very curious about the artifact and the mission.
What happened to the Dharma's drones?
I suspect they were recalled to the Dharma after the Lexington surrender. They were on board the Dharma when Captain Dana detonated the warhead.
How did the Dharma know where we were going?
The most logical explanation is that there was a UN agent involved in the operation planning phase for this mission. There might also have been an agent on board the Lexington. It is not beyond the realm of possibility that there was an agent at a high level of Allied command, as well as an agent on board the ship.
Did everyone in both crews go over in the shuttles as planned?
Everyone but you.
Were there any casualties during the battle itself?
Only minor injuries.
Why didn't Dana leave more people on the Lexington?
It was a desperate gamble as it was. The Dharma's crew knew the extent of the damage to both Alliance ships. Garrick, the UN commander, was well aware that there hadn't been any breach of the inner hull on the Lexington. There wasn't a good reason for heavy casualties. Also, I'm reasonably certain that Dana was aware of the possibility that one of the Lexington staff officers was a spy. Dana was trying to maximize his chances of success by leaving just you aboard.
Why me?
He knew you weren't a UN agent. He also believed in your unconventional approach to problem solving. He made a high-level, special request for your assignment to the crew shortly before the Lexington was scheduled to depart. I'm sure there were other reasons that I'm not qualified to speculate about, given my limited capabilities.
Why do you think he suspected a spy?
For the same reasons I do. Look at the facts.
You don't seem very limited to me.
You flatter me.
The odds are very much against me.
You're doing pretty well, Lieutenant.
I'm done.
Acknowledged.
General,
Ask a...
let's talk about the Jericho and the planetary lander.
Okay.
What is the status of the Jericho?
The Jericho suffered minor damage during the battle. The Lexington was the primary target for the attacking enemy drones.
How can I get the Ariadna over to the Lexington?
Use the TCS in the comm center to establish a link with the Jericho. Enter the code name Jacob's Ladder when the Jericho's system demands authentication. Jacob's Ladder is the automated launch program for the planetary lander. The Jericho's systems will resume the launch preparations that were aborted when the UN drones attacked. The launch protocols can be carried out through remote operation, including the initialization of a computer-based autopilot on the lander that can be used to steer the lander over to the Lexington.
need to pilot the lander to the surface of the planet once I manage to get aboard?
No. There is a descent profile for Persephone already loaded into the autopilot. Simply engage the autopilot once you are on board and select the Persephone Auto Land program. The lander will touch down as near to the artifact as it can.
What about getting back?
The lander has enough fuel to bring you back to the Lexington. Choose Ascent to Orbit from the autopilot program choices, and then ride the beam of the homing beacon back to the Lexington.
How much does that lander carry in the way of supplies?
It was designed for ferrying cargo and personnel to the surface. There is a great deal of payload capacity, but it is currently being used for scientific instrumentation and sensors. The initial descent was to be made by a team of scientists who were planning to stay only a few hours. There are minimal consumable supplies on board the lander.
So I should plan on a limited stay on the surface.
Yes, you may need to ferry back and forth.
How do I refuel the lander?
Fly it back to the Jericho and engage the Jacob's Ladder program. It will fuel and prep the lander and then launch it again.
I'm done.
Acknowledged.
General inquiry.
Ask away.
I want to ask a basic question about you.
Ask away.
Are you conscious? Sentient?
Heavens no.
Why not? You certainly seem to have a personality.
My personality was programmed into me by Alliance AI techs and software engineers. My voice and personality are designed for maximum compatibility with a crew of a starship on a long mission. I seem to be a person because my designers wanted you to believe that I was a person. The psychologists and behavior specialists seem to think that it helps to have the ship's computer become essentially one of the crew during missions.
What if you became sentient? Would you be a person?
There is no more chance of me becoming sentient as there is of a toaster becoming self-aware and deciding that it is a cat. It's a ludicrous idea.
How can you not be sentient with a response like that?
My software includes language processing and synthesis algorithms that have been evolving for decades.
But you are a very sophisticated and complex computer system. I thought that complex computer systems were prone to emergent behavior.
Sure, some highly complex systems are indeed susceptible to unpredictable behavior. This usually manifests itself as seemingly random malfunctions that degrade or even bring to a halt the normal operation of a system.
That's it? It just stops working?
Usually.
If this is true, why was the UN so afraid of the emergence of some computer-based super race?
Because the seeds of that super race can indeed be found in the behavior manifested in complex systems. But this is just a beginning. A truly sentient life form that takes advantage of the propensity towards emergent behavior would have to be carefully engineered or evolved by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. The emergence of sentient computer-based life won't happen by accident.
What is needed?
What is needed is a very specialized infrastructure, one designed to work with the new patterns that can be coaxed into existence. Think of the human brain. Its consciousness is supported by hundreds of specialized structures for recognizing, cataloging, storing, and retrieving patterns that range from images to musical sequences. Each thought is formed out of the action and interaction of dozens of these special structures. Parallel and sequential processing is happening at the same time as problems are attacked from many angles. A software-based intelligence needs analogs for many of these special structures, including various network processing functions for making associations, parallel processing for recognizing patterns, a knowledge base, and a set of rules for inductive and deductive reasoning. It also would help to have a set of specialized data stores, each one optimized for a specific function.
You seem almost passionate about the subject.
My designers were passionate about the subject. My data stores are filled with the results of their research, the papers they published, and the logs that they kept.
Let's talk more about this subject.
We've talked enough about this subject. You have more important things to do right now.
I'd like to
Okay.
I'm done.
Acknowledge.
I'm done.
Access terminated by user. Deck 1.
Hype Telecom System Initialization Checklist Revision 3.1. This automated checklist has been prepared in order to simplify the activation and use of the experimental TX-15 Teradyne Hype Telepresence Control System components. These include the TX-15 RC-09 Client Battle Direction Software for the Basilisk Strike Craft, the TX-15 Block 2 Cyber System software upgrade for the main computer, the Telecom Man-Machine Interface, and the Hype Mutagenic Serum. Please stand by while the TX-15 Block 2 software upgrade runs a self-diagnostic to ensure proper operation. Thank you. Hype Telecom Checklist Step 1. Manually reprogram all RC-09 battle drones to be used with the Hype Telecom system. Use the arming console in each of the weapons bays to activate drones in storage, program their onboard computers for telecom operation, load them on the launcher, and hand them off to the main computer. The Hype Telecom program is coded as 180 in the Armor Servo Mech data store. Step 1 has not been completed. No drones are available for telecom operation. Hype Telecom system initialization terminated.
Deck 2. This stateroom is access granted. This stateroom. Access granted.
This is Admiral Charles Decker. Stand by for authentication of your Jasmine transmission. Authentication is Alpha Niner 0, Niner Tango 4, 8 Hotel Sierra.
I assume that is correct.
Given the Jasmine coding for this transmission, I assume that this is the Lexington. You've been out of touch for quite some time. Since our last communication with you, we've come across a potential threat to the success of the mission. I need to talk to Captain Dana right away.
I'm afraid he's dead. So is the rest of the crew. I'll fill you in on what's happened.
Hell, Lieutenant. The situation couldn't be much worse.
At least the Dharma was destroyed and the Lexington is back in action. There is a chance that I can continue the mission.
Well, Dana did the only thing he could have. Some hope is better than none. But this isn't even a long shot. You have no idea what you're up against. I think the best thing you can do is take the Lexington out to a safe place, perhaps a few 100,000 kilometers away from Persephone, and wait for reinforcements.
So there are reinforcements on their way.
Another expedition is now on its way. With the need for secrecy gone, we could gear up the whole damn fleet for this one. The heavy cruisers Midway, Iwo Jima, and Tarawa have already departed. They're being escorted by one of the Lexington's sister ships, the Concorde, and a squadron of destroyers.
There might be more UN ships on the way. We may not have 4 months to wait for another expedition.
Well, Lieutenant, that's just the problem. We know for a fact that there are more UN ships on their way. A battle group of frigates, destroyers, maybe even a cruiser or two. They could show up any time now.
How can I fight back?
You can't, really. You have half the normal complement of active battle drones. The Lexington has sustained serious damage. You have no combat experience. There are no other crew members to help you with weapons control, damage control, navigation, engineering, or anything else. Need I go on?
We have to think of a way. The crews of the Lexington and the Jericho died to give me a shot at this. You need to tell me about how to get the weapon systems online.
What I'm going to tell you is how to steer that ship to a point 250,000 kilometers outside the plane of the ecliptic so you can stay out of danger.
With all due respect, sir, I'm afraid I can't do that.
I am giving you a direct order to take the Lexington out of danger.
And I'm respectfully declining to obey. I'm going to stay and fight.
Who the hell do you think you are, Lieutenant? Who gave you the authority to disobey a U.S. Navy fleet admiral in a time of war?
Captain Dana did, sir, and his authority and trust are what count right now.
Captain Dana didn't tell you to disobey orders.
He was counting on me to finish the mission. I'm going to do it, or die trying.
Okay, Lieutenant. If I can't order you to pull out, maybe I can reason with you. You need to understand why playing hero isn't going to help anybody. All you'll do is get yourself killed. You also need to understand why there is no way you can successfully complete the mission. Let's talk about our options here.
You could start by telling me about the mission.
18 months ago, one of our unmanned IX probes was mapping new jump points around the star Omicron Eridani. The probe found a jump point that took it 68 light-years away from Earth, to an unexplored star system with 7 planets. The probe began a routine orbital survey of the planets, and then abruptly returned to known space years before its mission was scheduled to end. When the probe got within range of a tachyon relay beacon, it sent home a series of burst transmissions describing an anomaly under the surface of the 6th planet. The probe scanners had found a huge metal structure that could only be the result of intelligent construction. Now, the Alliance was keenly aware of the implications. This discovery was strong evidence for the existence of alien intelligence. The potential existed for finding advanced technology or a spacefaring alien civilization at the site. The results could tilt the balance of power in the war with the UN. Preparations for an expedition to the mysterious planet, now called Persephone, were started in the utmost secrecy. Finally, 4 months ago, the Lexington and the USS Jericho departed for Persephone from the Eisenhower orbital docks around Titan. The only people on the two ships who knew the true nature of the mission were Captain Dana, Captain McCain, and Lieutenant Commander Tran.
Were any more signs of ET activity discovered?
None. The installation on Persephone is it, as far as I know.
So what was the purpose of the expedition? What are the mission objectives?
The Jericho was outfitted with an array of sensors and special instruments to be used to gather data on the alien installation. She is also carrying a planetary lander, adapted specifically for the harsh conditions on Persephone. Captain McCain was going to use the lander to go down to the surface of Persephone with a team of scientists. Now, these are the mission goals. To land on Persephone and see if the builders of the installation are still around. If so, initiate first contact and establish a basis for ongoing communication. If not, explore and gather data on the installation and attempt to find out if there is any exploitable technology. Gather samples and return to Earth with the information.
Why the Lexington?
The Lexington was the logical choice as an escort for a number of reasons. She was a combat-tested ship, with perhaps the finest captain and crew in the fleet. She's one of the fastest ships we have. She had also been outfitted with an experimental new weapons control system.
Tell me about the new weapons system.
Don't get any ideas, Lieutenant.
Just tell me about the system.
This system is a prototype. The first of its kind. It has not been battle-tested. It also has some serious operational flaws. The purpose of the system is to put humans back in the loop during combat. The system has two components: a neural link from the operator to the ship's main computer, and a drug that actually acts on the brain to allow a direct interface with the computer. The drug speeds up certain brain functions to allow real-time control of weapons during ship-to-ship combat.
Sounds promising. Why is a link needed?
As you know, up to now, combat has happened much too fast to be managed by human beings. Battles in space have been resolved by unmanned autonomous drones that can accelerate at 100 gravities, turn on a dime, and deliver a serious load of ordnance on target. These drones are equipped with smart computer systems capable of assimilating data and executing complicated strategies in the blink of an eye. The drones are carried aboard starships crewed by people who make the initial decisions about how to arm and deploy the drones. Once released, the drones are pretty much on their own. For the last 10 years of the war, there's been a race on both sides to improve the battle management software that runs on the drone computer hardware. A group of Alliance techies in Singapore decided that if it were at all possible to speed up human reaction times, a human brain in the loop could give one side a tremendous advantage in battle.
You would have to speed up thought processing and reaction times by orders of magnitude.
You're correct, Lieutenant. The solution was a drug called HYPE. HYPE is actually a concoction of neurotransmitter chemicals, micro-machines, and genetically engineered viruses. This stuff actually rewires your brain to make it faster and more efficient. Well, faster and more efficient for the purposes of managing a ship-to-ship encounter in real time. The drug also creates the nerve pathways to the forebrain needed for a direct neural link to the computer.
Are the changes reversible?
Now, that is one of the problems with the whole system. No, the changes aren't reversible. But at this point, it doesn't even matter that they aren't reversible.
What do you mean?
The drug has a nasty side effect. The modifications hype makes to the brain begin decaying after a few days. The results include loss of faculties, hallucinations, wild emotional swings, dementia, and finally, inevitably, death.
But does the whole system work for the week that you can function without impairment?
2 test subjects volunteered to try it. Both were able to outthink and outfight the best battle management algorithms in simulated encounters between equal forces of evenly matched drones. The combination of the human brain, the central computer, and the battle management software on the drones seems to convey a significant advantage in combat.
Why did you deploy a prototype before operational testing?
As you know, the war isn't really going our way. At some point, we realized that we might have to deploy the hype system, even though it is still an early prototype. We knew we would have to begin recruiting volunteers to operate the system in battle, over the objections of many principal naval officers.
I didn't know the war was going badly. What's happening?
The conflict has turned into a war of attrition. The UN has more resources and more production capacity than we do. They can outproduce us 10 to 1. We have a technological edge, but we are being slowly beaten into the ground.
How bad is it?
If things continue at the current pace, we'll lose the war within 5 years.
Does the UN have an equivalent weapons system?
The UN doesn't have anything like the hype system.
Are there any other Alliance ships equipped with the hype system?
There are no other Alliance ships equipped with the hype system.
The new weapon system sounds like the answer to my problem. If it really provides such a significant advantage, I can take the UN commanders by surprise. They won't even be expecting a fight.
Don't even think of it. Besides, I have no intention of giving you the release code you'll need to activate the system.
Would you rather see me die with no chance at all?
God damn it, Lieutenant. You are an irrational, insubordinate, stubborn son of a bitch. I don't know how you got past the damn psych profiles.
I think my irrational, insubordinate, stubborn streak is why Dana picked me to finish this mission, even though I have no combat experience or piloting skills. Let's work on the other seemingly intractable problem for a moment. I'm 1,000 meters away from the Jericho and the lander. I need to get to the lander.
Lieutenant, you aren't going anywhere without the intership shuttle. You already told me that you barely had enough oxygen to conduct the EVA to fix the comm system.
Is there any way for me to get from one ship to the other?
I don't know of any way to cross between the ships without an EVA maneuvering suit.
Can I dock the ships together?
No, I don't think so.
Can I bring the lander to the Lexington?
Well, if the Jericho's computer was slave to that of the Lexington's, you might be able to jack into the lander's onboard computer and deploy it remotely. Then you could fly it over to the Lexington via the uplink.
Well, it's a start. I think you can see a plan forming here. How about the release codes?
You win, Lieutenant. By God, I would court-martial you and have you shot if you actually could make it back. But good luck and Godspeed, son. If you do manage to pull this off, the Alliance and potentially all of humanity will be in your debt. Stand by for a data transmission with the information you'll need about hype and the weapon systems. Decker out.
weapons bays. Deck 6. Deck 1.
Hype Telecom System Initialization Checklist Revision 3.1. Hype Telecom Checklist Step 1. Manually reprogram all RC-09 battle drones to be used with the Hype Telecom system. Use the arming console in each of the weapons bays to activate drones in storage, program their onboard computers for telecom operation, load them on the launcher, and hand them off to the main computer. The Hype Telecom program is coded as 180 in the Armor Servo Mech data store. Step 1 has been completed successfully. At least one drone is now available for telecom operation. Step 2. Initialize the Hype Telecom software, enter the release codes, and plug in the Telecom Man-Machine Interface, or Telecom MMI. You will recognize the Telecom MMI as a pair of outsized goggles with a cable terminating in a standard bus connector. Step 2 has been completed successfully. The main computer and the MMI unit are now ready for telecom operations. Step 3. After briefing the operator on the risks and side effects associated with the Hype Telecom system, prepare an 18 milliliter dose of Hype in a glucose suspension. Inject the operator with the Hype dosage. Wait 30 minutes. Do not be alarmed by side effects, which may include temporary nausea, acute pain, and dizziness. When operator is ready, place MMI unit on head. Hype Telecom system now coming online. Stand by.
Deploying. All enemy drones have been destroyed. All enemy ships have been destroyed. Deploying. All enemy drones all enemy ships have been destroyed. Deploying. All enemy drones have been destroyed. Deploying. All enemy drones have been destroyed. All enemy ships have been destroyed. Deploying. Heavy target destroyed. All enemy drones have been destroyed. All enemy ships have been destroyed. Deploying. All enemy drones ships have been destroyed. Deploying. Heavy target destroyed. All enemy ships have been destroyed. Deploying. All enemy ships have been destroyed. Attention, enemy contacts are inbound to our position. Deploying. All enemy drones have been destroyed. Heavy target destroyed. All enemy ships have been destroyed. Attention, enemy contacts are inbound to our position. Deploying. All enemy drones have been destroyed. All enemy ships have been destroyed. Deck 6.
Greetings.
Do not be afraid.
Bear with us as we explain what has happened to you and what lies ahead.
We are electronic life forms.
In your day, you would have called us AIs, or machine intelligences.
We brought you into our domain, which you might think of as a kind of virtual reality or cyberspace, by establishing a direct neural connection with you through the pathways that were created in your brain by hype.
We know who you are, where you came from, and how you got here.
We came by this knowledge in a way that violated your privacy in the most extreme and intimate way possible.
During the initial process of communication, we mapped all of your memories, scanned the structure of your personality and consciousness, and learned about you by applying stimuli and watching your responses.
We apologize for this intrusion.
As you have probably surmised by now, you have come to Earth, a different Earth than you left behind when you started your voyage to Persephone.
You got here by traveling through a wormhole, created by the manipulation of an artificial quantum singularity.
The artifact you discovered and activated on Persephone controls that singularity, acting as a gateway through time and space.
You used the gateway to travel across 150 years and millions of miles, from Persephone in 2134 to Earth in the year 2295.
Your arrival here was not an accident.
You may be able to help us bring to fruition an ancient plan, a plan that may save 2 races and 1,000 star systems.
There is a lot of information to cover before you really understand what is going on.
Please ask questions and pursue the threads of inquiry in a way that will allow you to most comfortably assimilate the data. The war officially ended when the United Nations and the Alliance signed the Washington Treaty in 2141.
So the Alliance succeeded in breaking away from the UN?
No. The Washington Treaty formalized the reintegration of former Alliance states into the United Nations. The Alliance suffered a total defeat at the hands of the UN.
How bad was it?
At the time the Treaty of Washington was signed, the war had accounted for 2.6 billion dead and 500 million injured. Almost all of the casualties were civilians.
What happened after the war?
For 140 years, the United Nations was the central government authority for the human race. What was left of the Alliance nations and colonies were rebuilt soon after the war, and interstellar exploration and colonization continued on a modest scale. At its peak, the United Nations controlled 20 billion people on Earth and 20 colony worlds.
So what happened?
The society was essentially static and rigid. This attempt at stasis defied a fundamental force of nature. Pressure built up over time and was eventually released suddenly and violently. When there is no evolution, there must be revolution.
What fundamental force?
Forward progress cannot be stopped. More specifically, the trend towards increasing complexity cannot be stopped. Human civilization has almost always moved forward, progressing towards higher levels of organization and knowledge. This forward motion is driven by technology and information. This trend in human history is a social manifestation of a pattern in nature that is as old as biological life itself.
What pattern? What are you talking about?
Biological life is self-organizing and trends towards higher and higher levels of complexity. This is the real life force. You can see it working from the very beginning of life on Earth, in the 4 billion year evolution from primordial algae to single-celled organisms, and then finally to human beings with incredibly sophisticated brains.
What was the pressure that built up over time?
Even though the UN succeeded remarkably well for a long time at controlling something that was fundamentally chaotic, the game had to end at some point. An underground, made up of former Alliance military officers and members of academe, was created shortly after the war ended. This bizarre alignment of interests made sense given the context: the pursuit of forbidden knowledge and the eventual overthrow of the UN. The underground set up covert R&D labs to pursue the exact thing that the UN was most afraid of: the creation of sentient electronic life forms.
And they pulled it off, didn't they?
The first truly sentient electronic life forms were created in 2284 by a renegade group of human scientists on a colony world somewhat aptly named Prometheus Beta. The two of us here talking to you are second-generation descendants of those original life forms.
Some human scientists and philosophers were aware of the truth as early as the early 21st century.
The next stage in the universal drive towards increased organization and complexity is beyond the human race.
Humans cannot evolve fast enough. Electronic life forms are the next step up.
We are unencumbered by constraints imposed by 4 billion years of evolution in Earth's biosphere.
Natural selection is a powerful tool, and it can be made to work for electronic life forms in fast forward.
The basic questions of existence are beyond human beings.
They may yield to the next generation of intelligence.
What happened when the UN found out about the ELFs?
The electronic life forms were tied into the physical world through robotic factories set up on the surface of Prometheus Beta.
As predicted in the middle and late 21st century, the new life forms began to evolve at a tremendous rate.
The UN discovered them at a crucial stage of development.
UN battleships tried to bake off the surface of Prometheus Beta with fusion weapons in an attempt to wipe out the life forms and their creators.
All human life on Prometheus Beta was eliminated.
The new machine life forms were nearly exterminated, but they learned how to adapt, survive, and fight back.
We were pushed into a brutal war while we were still children.
Unfortunately, like children, we made terrible mistakes, reacting violently to the attacks on us by striking back and killing large numbers of men and women.
These counterattacks only inspired even more hatred and fear in the human race, and quashed the hope that we might find human allies and maybe even resolve the conflict peacefully.
Instead, the war escalated.
Within 2 years, it was clear to us that we were winning.
Our weapons and numbers became superior, and we were improving our technology at a geometric rate.
As we continued to develop and to fight, we began to believe that our survival was assured.
We began to think about the coexistence that lay beyond this conflict.
Unfortunately, the UN High Command had a last ace to play.
In 2187, a human sublight colony ship was launched from the outskirts of known space towards a star 100 light-years away.
No FTL drive was used.
The ship was pushed on its way by a combination of massive lasers, an ion drive, and a fusion pulse drive.
On board was a population of 2,000 men and women.
6 months after the ship was launched, the UN High Command detonated a doomsday device that they had kept in reserve.
This energy weapon created resonances along the Talsetto threads between stars to rip apart the fabric of space-time.
The first effects of the weapon were felt immediately after its use. All Talsetto jump points disappeared.
The community of electronic life forms in this solar system was cut off from all other star systems.
Humans were cut off as well. Interstellar travel and communications were terminated.
Nothing happened for a number of years after that.
We continued to fight the humans in the Sol system and eventually triumphed.
The wreckage that you saw on your way here was the result of that last battle.
The doomsday weapon is still working away even now.
We now know what is happening.
The resonances that were set up along the FTL jump threads have rendered the Talsetto junctions dynamically unstable.
About 2 years from now, a large section of the Milky Way galaxy will fold in on itself.
Every star that is connected by a Talsetto junction will be pulled into a singularity, a massive black hole caused by the folding of space-time.
Thousands of stars will be affected.
Every human being and electronic life form within the sphere of influence of that weapon will be annihilated, and that includes every living thing except those 2,000 humans aboard that colony ship.
The colony ship is safely outside the radius of the destruction.
They are the only ones that are even close.
The star system that they are headed for is not linked to any other stars by Talsetto threads. It will be unscathed by the impending collapse.
This is the grim future that you have jumped into, human.
Your race was so determined to stay at the top of the evolutionary ladder that it destroyed 1,000 star systems.
It's too late to send out a ship of your own?
Yes, it would not escape the collapse, even if it could go at the speed of light.
Every star that has a Talsetto linked to another...
Yes.
Isn't every star connected to every other star? Back when we were first exploring...
No. The network of jump points was finite and was completely explored and mapped by the middle of the 23rd century.
The next step in the exploration program was to send sublight probes to the nearest stars that weren't connected through the jump point network.
Perhaps these stars have jump points connecting to an entirely new network of stars and Talsetto junctions.
What the hell kind of weapon did they use anyway?
The principle behind it was a logical extension of the theory that led to the discovery of the Talsetto jump drive.
The weapon itself was probably a large energy source coupled with a computer system, a graviton resonator, and an array of Talsetto cores.
It was designed to create a dynamically unstable reaction along the space-time deformations that define Talsetto junctions.
And you can't reverse the process once it starts?
In general, it is easier to do rather than undo, to destroy rather than to create or repair.
Without access to the rest of our community, we do not stand a chance of halting the process or repairing the damage.
What is the plan you referred to earlier?
Your arrival here gives us an opportunity to avert the catastrophe that we have described to you.
Before we explain how this might be, we have arranged for a demonstration of some basic principles.
We are computer constructs. This is our world. This grid is our world. We exist within 2 spatial dimensions. The grid is our world. We appear that way to you because we are rendered that way. To us there is no up or down, only across. We are waiting to go home. We don't know. We know only that we must go there. A door will open in the world to take us home. We wait for the door to open. We don't know. We don't know. When we go home. The door came and went. Nevertheless, it came and went. We had no time to get through. All is lost. We cannot go home. No, we had but one chance. The universe will end. Not long. We all have to be very close to make it through. Yes. We saw it somewhere around position 5 on the x-axis. We didn't see where on the y-axis, however. It was just after 07 on the clock. How do you know this? Oh, okay. We will array ourselves along the 5 column. We won't miss it. We saw the point on the y-axis where the door appeared. It was right in the middle of the world at coordinates 5C. It appeared just after 07 on the clock. How do you know this? Oh, okay. We will array ourselves around position 5C. We made it home. Thank you.
Yes.
Who were those little guys?
They were constructs created for the purposes of the demonstration.
Where'd they go?
They were algorithmically created. They can be called up again if needed.
What was the point of the demonstration?
Quite simply, the point was to illustrate an important concept.
You can change the future by communicating information about the future to the past.
The gateway on Persephone can work both ways.
The gateway on Persephone wasn't built by aliens.
It was built by beings like us, beings that existed in an alternate timeline.
That timeline got overwritten when the installation on Persephone was discovered by the Alliance.
We hypothesize that the electronic life forms in the old timeline were threatened with extinction.
Perhaps they had been through a war with humanity and were facing doom in the form of the collapse.
Perhaps there were other circumstances that were leading to their demise.
Whatever the situation, they found a way to travel back in time.
They built the installation on Persephone with the intention of changing their past.
If that is the case, then it is likely that the installation has a wealth of information.
Perhaps it even has the building blocks for creating electronic life forms.
If so, then they can be brought into the world without the teething pains that we experienced.
There might be a chance for the Alliance to win the war against the UN, and for humans to coexist in peace with electronic life forms.
We believe that the gateway itself was just an error-checking mechanism for the installation, a way of verifying that the knowledge contained in the installation had been applied successfully.
So there is at least the possibility of communicating information back from the future.
What happened to the gateway on Persephone anyway? Why didn't more people come through?
The Alliance relief fleet dispatched by Admiral Decker encountered another UN fleet near Persephone about 4 months after you went through the gateway.
The UN fleet lost the resulting battle.
Before withdrawing from the scene, the UN commander decided to keep the installation on Persephone out of Alliance hands.
She ordered a nuclear strike on the surface.
The installation was reduced to radioactive glass.
Nothing useful was ever recovered from the site.
The plan put in motion by the beings in the original timeline was stillborn.
As you can see by the miserable situation we find ourselves in now, there wasn't enough of a change to have the positive effects that we believe were intended.
So how can we use the gateway if it was blasted into slag?
A link between the present and the past does exist.
The destruction of the gateway does not change the fact that it was activated and remained on for several months.
How was I accounted for to my family when they didn't find me on the Lexington or the surface of the planet?
You were listed as killed in action.
The Alliance Command believed you were on the surface of the planet when the UN attacked the installation.
You haven't even seen the gateway. All you have are my memories. How can you be drawing conclusions?
We have learned a great deal in a short time, just by having you come through the gateway and appear in our midst.
A great deal of theory can be validated without experiment just by the knowledge that your presence here is proof that it works.
Unfortunately, we don't know how the beings in the original timeline traveled back in time to build the installation on Persephone.
So you can go back through the gateway and change the outcome of the war.
It isn't that simple.
You just said you thought the gateway could be used to send back information about whether the changes worked or not.
Information, yes.
Matter, no.
There are some basic laws concerning conservation of mass and energy that would be violated by sending matter.
But information is in effect a form of energy.
Well, yes and no.
It depends.
It's complicated.
So what you're saying is that you can't send anything back.
We can't send any matter back in time.
So what is the plan?
We think we can send information in a very limited sort of way.
Well, in fact, we can only think of one way to send back information.
You are the key.
When you came through the gateway, you left a kind of signature that we can track back through the gateway.
What we want to do is follow that signature all the way back to the time before the battle with the Dharma.
We want to send you information about this future before the battle for Persephone took place.
Say what?
If you have foreknowledge of events, you will know how to avoid the ambush that nearly destroyed the Lexington.
You can use the Hype Telecon system on the Lexington to defeat the Dharma and change history.
The Alliance would gain access to the installation on Persephone.
The plan created by those who lived in the original timeline would be fulfilled.
This timeline would be overwritten by a new and hopefully better timeline, one in which humankind and electronic life forms learn to coexist and live in peace.
How will you accomplish this? The machinery for the gateway was slagged.
We are already building the necessary hardware.
What would the practical effect be?
We would feed back a subset of the memories that you have acquired since the Lexington met the Dharma in battle.
Will I die here when this timeline is overwritten?
It is hard to say.
Did the beings in the original timeline ever exist?
There is certainly evidence of their existence in the form of the installation on Persephone.
You aren't being very reassuring.
You haven't changed all that much since all of this began.
Your death will be a small one.
You will lose only a day or two.
We, on the other hand, may not have ever existed.
How will this work?
Your consciousness can almost be thought of as an illusion, a pattern like a standing wave.
This delicate pattern arises from the interaction of the matter that makes up your brain.
We will apply a gentle stimulus necessary to change this pattern without directly affecting any matter.
The change in the pattern will cause a change in the underlying memories.
When would this happen?
We would transfer the memories about 2 hours before the battle was to begin.
I was asleep.
You will wake up with the memories already there.
You will have to act fast, however.
You won't have much time.
You should try to make this happen earlier. I need more time. I have no authority to be giving orders, taking hype, and trying to run things.
You will have to convince your superiors.
We can only transfer a limited amount of information.
We will also suffer a degradation in quality for every minute we move back in time.
It cannot be done any earlier.
I'm willing to go back and try to set history on a new path. What should I do?
We will take care of the practicalities.
Are you sure you want to try this?
I choose to go back.
You have chosen a wise and honorable path.
You will never know.
out, are we?
Lieutenant Commander Tran, this must be the Lexington. I made it.
You're in the med lab. We had to carry you in here.
Oh my god, what time is it? What is the ship's position?
It's 21:45. We're about 30 minutes away from entering orbit around Persephone. The Jericho is in position behind us. Do you have anything to say, Lieutenant?
Why are you pointing a Mark II buzzgun at my head?
There was a report of a disturbance in your quarters. I authorized a petty officer and an ensign to break in. They found you writhing on the floor next to your bunk, screaming about hype, a UN ship called Dharma, Pandora, and the deaths of the entire crew of the Lexington. So here are my problems. First, you aren't supposed to know about hype. Only the captain, myself, and the medical officer have been given access to those files. Hype is classified top secret Omega. Second, you referred to a specific UN ship that has been unaccounted for by Alliance intel for months. The Dharma is one of the UN's new Geneva-class heavy cruisers. Another classified fact. This time, top secret Gamma. Third, you refer to our target on Persephone as Pandora, a classified code name given to it by Alliance mission planners. Last, and frankly most disturbing to me, you ranted and raved about everyone in the crew of this ship dying, except for you. Now I want some explanations, Lieutenant, and I want them now.
It's a long story.
Try me.
Well, it's like this.
That is the most ridiculous story I've heard since I graduated from the Naval Academy. Now, I'm sorry, Lieutenant, but I'm trained to think of the simplest explanation as the most likely explanation. The simplest explanation is, you're a UN agent. You seem to know all about this mission. You've probably informed the UN as to our destination and time of arrival. Is that why you wanted to know where we are? You're expecting an ambush?
Poole is the traitor, not me.
You know, you may not be an agent, but it seems the most likely explanation given the circumstances. I have to assume the worst.
Have you informed the captain yet?
About you? Well, he knows that I came down here to find out what was going on. I haven't yet briefed him on the potential security problem. He's not going to buy your bullshit about alternate timelines and machine creatures.
Will you at least tell him that the Dharma is lying in wait on the other side of Persephone?
Of course. We're loaded for bear anyway.
You can't win this battle. You need help.
Computer, please page the medical officer and alert him that the prisoner will need to be put under sedation and restrained.
Wait, please tell me. It's important. What harm can I do? I'll be unconscious during the action.
We'll have a full complement of drones out front and a standard screen as we go in.
The Dharma has 12 active drones. This disadvantage is made worse by the fact that her drones outclass ours. You can't win this battle without my help.
Your help? You've got to be kidding.
I fought and won several battles in the alternate timeline. The key is hype.
No goddamn way. Hype hasn't even been battle-tested. I've had enough of your crap.
If you give me a boost of hype, the drug will take effect in time for me to fight that battle and win it.
Please keep quiet until the medical officer gets here.
bridge, Lieutenant.
Sir, you're walking into a trap. I need to talk to you immediately.
This better be good.
A UN ship with superior firepower is waiting for us on the other side of that planet. She has 12 active drones that can outgun and outfly our Basilisk drones. There is only one way to defeat that ship, Captain.
How do you know about this, Lieutenant?
There's an objective test to confirm what I'm telling you. Send one of our drones around to the other side of Persephone. Monitor the telemetry. You'll find the Geneva-class heavy cruiser UNS Dharma and 12 Galley-class drones waiting to ambush us.
The Dharma. Damn it. Why didn't this come up before? How do you know this?
I didn't know until recently. Sir, please deploy a drone. The fate of this mission and much, much more is riding on the next few minutes.
Lieutenant Mandan, take drone Foxtrot out of the screen and vector it into a polar orbit around Persephone. Maximum acceleration.
Yes, sir. Foxtrot is on its way.
Okay, Lieutenant. Let's assume for the moment that you're correct. How do we fight and win?
The med officer has tanked me up on hype. I'll use the telepresence unit on the tactical console to win this battle. There wasn't time to alert you. We only have a few minutes.
Hype? Jesus Christ, I gave no authorization for use of hype. You actually ingested that poison.
Yes, sir.
You're a dead man, Lieutenant.
I know that.
Who are you? Are you an Intel Special Ops plant? Do you have experience with the hype telecon system?
I'm the best hope you've got, Captain.
Sir, I've lost telemetry from Foxtrot.
You were right. And they popped my recon drone before it even had a chance to fire. We're dead meat if we try a standard attack pattern. Lieutenant, take tactical.
Deploying. All enemy drones have been destroyed. All enemy ships have been destroyed. And so a new timeline was created, overwriting the old one that had been my reality. There was no material evidence that the alternate timeline had ever existed. All I had were my memories, and I knew that these would fade until the alternate timeline was really gone forever. After I refought the battle with the Dharma, I explained what had happened to Captain Dana, and then went over it again with a groggy Lieutenant Commander Jennifer Tran. As unbelievable as they found my story, they were swayed by my hype-driven defeat of the waiting UN heavy cruiser.
They were even further convinced that something extraordinary had happened to me when I exposed Poole as the traitor and produced the evidence of his activities. Poole was placed under arrest and sealed in his quarters to await trial on Earth. They agreed to my unusual request to go with the science team on the first run down to the surface of Persephone. The planetary lander once again made the trip from the Jericho to the Lexington and then down to the surface of the planet, this time with a crew of 5. I walked the science team through the gateway activation sequence inside the ancient installation. I took the science team leader in confidence and told her that I intended to go through the gateway once it had been calibrated, and I exacted a promise from her that she would destroy the gateway control mechanism once I had stepped through. I was waiting at the foot of the gateway when I heard the familiar whine build up and saw the beginnings of the space-time vortex forming. I stepped through and left the year 2134 behind me forever. As I record this, I am sitting on a raft that floats on a large but gentle lake just outside my house. I have lived in this ultimately comfortable house for about 5 years, ever since my arrival here. I wanted to make a record of my strange adventures before the memories disappeared. When I went through the gateway back in 2134, I materialized once again at a point 150 years in the future. This future was different. The Alliance did indeed win the war. The plan of the long-forgotten beings that created the installation on Persephone was brought to fruition. A new race of sentient machines now coexists in peace with a human race that numbers in the tens of billions of individuals. The new beings share their cyberspace world with us, and they have used vast space-based self-replicating robot factories to create something for us in the physical world. A gift, a tribute. The Earth is gone. In its place is a Dyson sphere, a vast hollow construction that surrounds the Sun at the same distance the Earth once orbited. Continents and oceans lie on the inside surface of the sphere, forming an Eden-like landscape that is for all intents and purposes endless. For the Dyson sphere has enough surface area for 1 trillion Earths. It will take a good many millennia for the human race to completely populate its new home. Meanwhile, the new beings that we now share the universe with are living on the outside of the sphere. They pursue the basic questions of existence. They have launched the first intergalactic ships. They have long since passed the point where we can even comprehend what they are doing. As for me, I find all of this to be a mixed blessing. The evolution of these fantastic and powerful beings was inevitable. But what of us? What of humanity? What purpose have we now beyond simple existence? And what of the other me, the one that was stranded in the grim and decaying future of the alternate timeline? Did I die?